Hey there, everyone that's already on the line. I'm Melissa Zavala. Thanks for joining me. If you could use the chat area to just confirm that you can see my screen. We'll wait patiently till 10 Pacific time to get started. It's about 4 minutes away, but I'd love to know that you could see my screen, that the technology is working well for you, and that you can hear me okay as well. So I will wait patiently as you respond. Sometimes there is a little bit of a delay, but I'm excited to see that we already have a handful of people on the line. And so do send me a message in the chat section. You can see on the screen where that's located to let me know that you can hear me okay and see everything. If you want to tell me who you are, where you're calling in from, whether you use Gmail or not right now, whether I'm going to try and convince you to use Gmail, just any sort of information to confirm that we can all see and hear each other so that we can get started promptly at 10 o'clock. So for those of you that are just coming on, if you could message me and confirm that you can see my screen okay and hear me okay, that you know how to use the chat section, and just let me know who you are, where you're from, and that all is working well. We will get started promptly at 10. I'm Melissa, and I'm excited to be on the call with you today. Great, so it sounds like people are connecting. Awesome. I'm so glad everything is working well. For those folks just getting on the call, they're coming in fast and furious. You should be able to see my screen. It's a welcome screen with a little chat section in the corner showing you where to use the chat. If you want to confirm for me that you can see me and hear me okay, I am Melissa Zavala, and we will be getting started promptly at 10 Pacific, 1 Eastern. It'll be 11 Central Mountain or 10 Central. No, 11 Mountain, 10 Central, or vice versa. I can't keep them all straight. Hi, Deborah. Yes, I'm glad you love Gmail. I love Gmail too, so I hope I can give you some tricks and tips that you do not have already in this short webinar that we're going to do today. Great. It sounds like everything. I'm glad to hear from Ken, Susan, Ellie, great. Okay, good. I'm glad everything's working okay. Sometimes with this Google Hangouts and the Webinar Jam, we do have some little glitches, but I'm thrilled that everything's working okay, and we will just get started in a minute. So for those of you that are just coming on, we're going to get started in just a minute, but it sounds like everybody is able to see my screen and hear me okay, or not, at least the people who have told me that in the chat section. And we will be getting started, but please do continue to chat with me if you have any questions during the webinar or want me to go over things or a little bit of clarification. I am happy to do that. So at this point, I want to welcome you to the webinar where we're going to talk about all sorts of Gmail hacks, tricks, tips, and tools for real estate professionals. And I encourage you again to chat with me in the chat section if you have any questions, concerns, or feedback. Since I am on the call by myself, if I don't get to your question or concern right away, I will, I promise. And worst case scenario is you can email me afterwards. So this will be recorded a few hours after the webinar. You will get an email thanking you for attending with a link to the replay, which will be in YouTube. You can also download today's slides at slideshare.net/Melissa Zavala. So today we are going to go over 10, actually probably more, no nonsense Gmail hacks that will increase your real estate productivity. So I'm excited about that. For those of you that are, if you have problems with seeing the screen, if the changes focus, that has to do with the broadband and the bandwidth. It could be yours, it could be mine. Hopefully we will not get disconnected, but you can always watch it again in the replay or look at the slides afterwards. That is kind of one of the things about Google Hangouts, is depending on the bandwidth, that would impact. Sometimes it will compromise our ability to see the screen. So I'm sorry about that. So today we are going to talk, we're going to review the benefits of Gmail to manage your business. I've fallen in love again with Gmail over the last few years for real estate professionals, including how Gmail works with domains, tactics for configuring your Gmail for maximum optimization, best tips for automating some of your daily tasks, your daily real estate tasks, or any tasks for that matter. And I'm going to share some powerhouse apps and extensions that I love to improve your Gmail user experience. And while this is really directed for real estate professionals, I'm sure there's a lot of stuff that we're going to talk about today which would apply to anyone who uses Gmail. So of course, questions and answers throughout. Feel free to use the chat section to chat with me or to ask those questions. So I'm Melissa Zavala. I'm a real estate broker, author, and trainer in the state of California. And you can follow my blog or follow me at melissazavala.com. I contribute on The Real Daily, which is a real estate magazine, part of American Genius for real estate agents. And I also do have some products available on Amazon.com. If you do have any questions after the webinar, you can always email me at info@melissazavala.com, and I'll try my best to answer them. So welcome and thanks for coming. So before we jump in, I just want to talk a little bit about why Gmail is so great, some statistics. So one of the benefits of using Gmail versus some of the other free email accounts is the security. Since it's the #1 website in the world, meaning it's the #1 most highly trafficked site. So if you go on alexa.com, Alexa.com, and you look up sites, you might look up your own website and see that it's like number 5 million when they're ranked in traffic. Well, of course, Google is #1, and Google owns Gmail. It's #1 in the world, so it has the #1 security in the world, which is really, really good. We've heard a lot about real estate fraud that happens in email, so there's a lot of good security with Gmail. Another thing is, because it's the #1 site, it's the most highly trafficked site, they have a lot of money behind them, they have a lot of apps and extensions that will increase your efficiency. So a lot more than some of the other smaller mail products. And then you get loads of free space, and that is just loads and loads of free space. So that's really cool also. So those are some of the benefits of using Gmail that I really like. And here's something that's going on lately, which you may have heard of, that is impacting a lot of real estate professionals. There is this DMARC, which there's a new policy with DMARC where it says they're really monitoring and trying to make email delivery more secure. So of course you can use Gmail, you can use Yahoo, you can use all of these products. But if you're using them to send email newsletters, so if you're using MailChimp with your Gmail address or your Yahoo address, or if you're using Constant Contact or Top Producer e-newsletters, or any of the products that you use that are sending out an email newsletter to your clients, and it's coming from a Gmail address or a Yahoo address or anything like that, it's not going to work anymore. And that was as of June 1st. So you have to, in order to take advantage of all of those email newsletters that a lot of us use that are sent out by a third-party company, but with our email address on them, it's not going to work unless you have a personal or a company domain or a personal domain for your mail. So that is like a huge change, which is impacting a lot of real estate agents right now. So what to do about that? So what that means is you can use Gmail, Yahoo, AOL, or any other mail accounts for anything, but you can't send email newsletters from those emails and expect them to get delivered. So my best example is if you're using MailChimp and you've got it configured with your Gmail address, it'll look like it goes out in MailChimp, but it won't get delivered to people, to people's addresses. So you've got to change your from email to a personal domain or some other domain, maybe your company domain. So, though I don't know if you know this, but you can get your personal domain through Google for Work or through Google Domains, and it's very affordable. And then you can use all of the Gmail tools, but it's through your personal domain. So what that means is you would go on gmail.com, but instead of logging in like melissa@gmail.com, you could log in as info@melissazavala.com with your password, and you would get all the features of Gmail, but it would be through a personal domain that's managed by Google for a small fee, and that's called Google for Work. So here's what you do. The best way to get started with Google for Work, if you're currently using Gmail, Yahoo, AOL, and you're thinking, oh, I want to use a personal domain for my email. Maybe you want to take it up a notch, start a bigger product or a bigger program, or maybe a bigger business, or just brand yourself differently. Go to domains.google to see what's available. If your domain, maybe your personal name is available. If your name is John Smith and you want johnsmith.com, may not be available. But if you have a slightly more unique name, then it will possibly be available. And then once you see what's available, you can go to apps.google.com and sign up. Now, you do not need, if you sign up and you start this new email account, which is through a domain, that you've selected, you don't need to worry about your old email too much. Go into your old email, whether it's AOL, Excite, Yahoo, whatever it is, Roadrunner, SBC Global, whatever it is. Go in and into the settings, just mark to forward everything to your new email address and put in your new email address. There are a lot of people use vacation responders to say, hey, I've got this new email address. But what happens is you will respond from your new email address, and now there are so many algorithms and so many unique products up there that the other person on the other side will just have your new email address now. You don't need to make like a big banner that says, hey, switch my email address in your file. So all you need to do if you're going to kind of go this route in the future is to just forward any emails that go to your old email to your new email address through the settings of your old email program. So that's, it's easy, it's fairly simple, but there are companies that will do it for you for a very modest fee, less than $100, transition everything for you and get it up and running. So if you're considering increasing your branding, changing the way you do things, if you don't want to have an @Gmail and @Yahoo and @AOL and @SBC Global, this is an easy way to do it. It's fairly affordable and it's very secure, and you get a lot of other benefits too. So I recommend using your name if you're going to go that route. I recommend using a .com versus a .net if possible. And if you're on this call from out of the country, then you might want to do .ca if you're in Canada, different things like that. And then again, as I mentioned, you're going to consider forwarding your personal domain, to your new one. So Apps for Work not only has the Gmail, but it also has Google Drive, which is free storage, Calendar, which syncs nicely with the phone. So there are a lot of other features that you get, and you get a lot of other benefits and apps through that product. Okay, but that's not why you're here. We're here more to talk about some ways to increase your productivity with Gmail. So let's get started with that. So number one thing you want to do is when you're using Gmail, you want to use the Chrome browser. Of course, there's Firefox, there are all sorts of other browsers, but what's cool about the Chrome browser, of course, is it's made by Google, who makes Gmail. But the other thing is there are a lot of apps and extensions that you can use, and I'm going to talk about 5 or 6 that I like for realtors towards the end of the webinar. But there are a lot. They may be available for Firefox or Internet Explorer, but they're all available for Chrome. So you'd want to install the Chrome browser and work through there. The other thing is, you may not know this, but you can search for any search term in the URL bar at the top. So where you type in www.facebook.com, all you need to do is type in, best president, and you'll get, as if you're doing a Google search, or best realtor in San Diego, or whatever you want to type in. You don't need to go to google.com and use the search bar. You could type it in the URL bar at the top. And it's lean and mean, and it is extremely fast. So, and there's no growing pains with it at all. So it's a great place to start, and you definitely want to use the Chrome browser if you're not doing so already. And a lot of times, if you're buying a new computer, whether it's a Dell, if it's a Windows computer, it is not going to have the Chrome browser be the default browser. So you'll have to go to chrome.com and install that yourself. And then, so number 2, so now we're getting into Gmail itself. Gmail has an unfiled inbox. So what that means is if you have a lot of email accounts, you can get them all in your Gmail inbox. So, and then you can use all the Gmail tools that I'm going to go over in the rest of the webinar, even though you may be using another email address. So if you have an @roadrunner.com, @yahoo.com, or if you have an old domain at caldwellbanker.com or whatever it is, you can actually check that email through Gmail. I'm going to show you how to do that. So you can see everything in one place. You can take advantage of all the Gmail tools in one place, even if you're not only using Gmail. So what you do to do that is, here's what you do. Over here, if you're in Gmail, in the corner, you have the settings, the sprocket. Then you click on settings over here. So click on this. Then you would go down here and you'd go to settings. And then once you're in the settings, the thing about Gmail is it kind of looks very plain, but it's got so many things kind of deeper in. And that's one of the things I like about it. So then you would go over to accounts and import. And then you just click add another email address that you own, and you follow the prompt. So if you have an iCloud address, or any address that you own that you want to check an email, you would add it here. And that's it. And then you would get a confirmation code sent to that old email address, and you would have to add the code. And then from that point on, all the emails could be checked using your Gmail for all of your email accounts. Very cool feature. And then if you're using, most people don't, but if you're using a POP3 mail server, most everyone uses IMAP, then you would add that here. Anyway, so that's in the settings, accounts, and import. Another thing I really like about Gmail is the way to organize the inbox. So inboxes come with the option now to organize them with the social and the promotions separately. So anything that you would get from Facebook would be in a separate folder. Promotions, anything you're getting advertising, that would be in something separate. Priority inbox, things like that. And what I like to do, however, is I'm always worried that my social and promotions, I won't see them because they're in a separate folder. They're not going to be in my main inbox, and so that bugs me. So what I found to be a better setup for me as a real estate professional is to have everything in the main inbox. So I turn off the social and promotions, and then I just have always my unread emails at the top. So I'm going to show you how to do that. So again, you're going to go to your settings, and then you're going to click inbox. And then you have here, it says priority inbox. So here's where when you go in, it's probably going to have the social and the promotions separate, because you can have a whole bunch of sections. But all I have toggled is unread. I've got an inbox section called unread. So there it's going to list my unread emails. And what I like to do is if you send me an email and it's something I can't address right away, after I read it, I will mark it as unread so I can keep it in the top of my inbox so that I can remember to deal with it later. So it's like my tickler file, and then everything else below. And then you can write, on the drop-down menu, show how many items you want in each section. So of course you can have other sections here, but these are the two that I think are most effective for real estate professionals. Just keep your unread at the top, and then that will be your reminder of things you need to do. It's kind of almost like your to-do list, and then everything else below. So here's how that might look. Obviously you can't see what emails are here, but these are all the read emails down here, everything else, and these are all the unreads. And it looks like at the time I set this up, it was 13 unreads. And so that's kind of like things I need to do, things I need to address, emails that just come in. Keep those at the top so I can see them. Okay, so the next thing, so that's really, really helpful. And then Another really cool feature is the search. And a lot of people don't even realize, one of the employees in my office, we've been working in Gmail for years, and she's like, I didn't know you could do that just about 2 weeks ago. She's like, I can't believe you can do that. So it's really easy to search. You can search for things by who it's to, who it's from. You can search by words in it, or you can search by attachment size. You don't really need to use the labels and folders, although I'm going to talk about how those work later. But the search feature is really cool. So let's just say, for example, I have a client and I know that like 2 years ago, they sent me, I don't know, an email inviting me someplace. And I remember that it said pool party in it. I could actually just go, so up here at the top of your email, you have this, and there's this little triangle here. If you click on that, you're going to see this whole menu right here. What you can do is you can just put in some words from the email that you remember right here. It has the words, and then you click search right here, and it's going to produce every email in all of your mail that has those words in it. So that's why you often don't even need a label or a filter, because you can just search by words. Or let's say I know that an escrow officer sent me something in the last week that has an attachment. I can just click from, say who it, and write in who it's from, and click has attachment, and it will produce a list for me of every email from that individual with an attachment. Or let's say for example, recently I was looking for an old article that I had written that I sent to somebody. So I put that person's name in the to, and I know I've sent this individual a lot of emails, but I knew I wanted it to be one with an attachment. So I put to so-and-so, and I clicked has attachment, and it provided like 10 emails that I had sent him with an attachment. So it was very quick for me to find the article that I had sent him that I wanted to reproduce. So it's really, I think that's really, really cool, really easy to find old stuff. Obviously we need to look up stuff, maybe information from our clients all the time, or stuff we've told clients, or stuff for our broker. It's an easy way to find an email in this search feature. And again, this is part of this fact that since Google is the #1 search engine, they're able to apply all of these search tools to their Gmail, which makes it really easy. I have tried to search for things in Airmail and other email clients, and I have found that this one, it has the best functionality, bar none. So I really like that. And I also like labels. So for real estate agents, there's different ways that we can organize labels. So labels are not quite the same as folders. Labels almost like a sticky note that you would put on every email that comes in. And they're really helpful for archiving later. In the state of California, we need to keep all of our communication for 3 years and our whole file for 3 years. So if you apply a label to each email that is related to a certain transaction, then of course you can archive those, and then you can pull them up later if you actually needed to reproduce them for some unfortunate reason. So for example, you can do it by client name, you can do it by property address, you can create labels by topic, and then you can archive a whole label, you can hide labels. Very, very neat. So here's what that looks like. So over on the side, over here, these colors, these are labels, okay? And I wouldn't say a label is a folder, because things can be in the inbox and labeled. So that's not the same, because usually a folder, you think you're putting it away. But what happens is, so that's why I said it's more like a sticky note. So here this says, so this label is Twitter inbox. So it's got, if you click here, you'll see all the things with Twitter inbox. But here is the what it would look like, and you can color code them, which is kind of cool, because then you can see a bunch of different, if you have a bunch of different labels. So I really like setting them up by property address, because sometimes we do have the same client for multiple transactions over a period of years, but generally, I mean, although we do sometimes resell the same property a couple of times, I prefer to do it by the property address. So here's what that might look like. You can create a label over on the side over here, or you can go to the settings section and just click labels, and then you would pick once you've got the label named, you would pick the color. You would say if you want it to show on the side or not. And let me see if I have a picture of what that looks like. So then if you have all these labels, it would kind of look like this. Where it'd say like 123 Sesame Street, 1811 Grand, 1745 Dillon, whatever they are, you can have them labeled here. And then you can search by label when you search later. So if you've got them color coded, then very quickly you can see, if you've got repeats, if you've got multiple things with the same label. And another thing you can do is you can also create filters by label. So I used filters help to sort things very quickly and to automate some of the labeling and automate the archiving. And this is one of the best features that if you think it through and you take a few minutes to organize, can really save you a lot of time down the road. So, and that's in the settings. So let me show you what that's like. So you would go here and you would go to settings and you would select filters. And then after you do that, so what would you filter? So I'll give you an example. This morning, I realized that all of a sudden, all of my completed DocuSign. So if I send out something in DocuSign, usually you get an email that it's been signed and completed. All of a sudden, all of my DocuSign completed were going into my spam box. So I decided, how am I going to avoid that? I'm going to create a filter which says that anything from DocuSign, so I went back and looked at what the from address was from DocuSign. It's like ds2 _ blah, blah, blah at DocuSign.com. So anything from that DocuSign address, I wrote it here. I clicked create a filter with this search. And then what I did was I clicked never send to spam. So now moving forward, I don't have to worry that those DocuSigns are going into my spam box. Another way I've used it is if I'm getting really annoying emails that don't have an unsubscribe at the bottom, but I must be on somebody's list, and of course they're supposed to have an unsubscribe, but they don't, is what I do is I put that in the from. So I put that from there, and then I would put, I could put, let's see, delete it right here. And that's a way that you would never see that stuff from that, person that's sending you spammy email that you can't delete. It would go directly to your trash. You don't have to see it. It doesn't go to your inbox. So that was one thing that I also set up. Okay, so there's another thing that you can set up though, and this is where it gets really, really functional for real estate agents. So you've got your labels. Let's say you've made a label with a property address. And let's just say it's 123 Sesame Street. So what you can do is you can create, on the first page with the filter, you can say has the words Sesame Street or 123 Sesame Street. And then you click create a filter for this search. And then you click apply the label right here and you pick the 123 Sesame Street label from here. And you click create filter, and then of course also apply to 600 matching conversations. And then moving forward, everything that says 123 Sesame Street on it will automatically have that label applied. And you can have it skip the inbox, you can have it be archived, you can have it go into the inbox, but you don't have to manually apply those labels. They'd be applied through the filtering process. So if you set that up initially when you have a new transaction or a new client, if you're doing it by client name or by address, then your inbox is very, very, it's all automated, the organization of your inbox. And what I do then is at the end of the transaction, so when the Sesame Street transaction closes, I just click on that label. I would hide the label and I would archive everything in the label. So what archiving does is it takes it out of the inbox, but it keeps it in Gmail. So when we have that everything else section, when I was showing you how it's unread email and everything else, you might see that it says there's 5,000 messages in there. And so what it would do is it would remove those 200 or 600 messages that you have labeled with a certain label from the inbox, and it would move them to an archive where they're always available to you. They're just not in that everything else section in the inbox. So that's part of the archiving. And again, the benefit is it removes it from the inbox. However, it still uses space in your Gmail because you do get a lot of space, but on the bottom of your email on the bottom left, it says how much space you have left. So most of you probably have a lot of space left. You can buy extra space. If you're using Google for Work, you get tons more space than if you're using a free Gmail account. And you can always access that stuff via the search, no matter what, using those search tools that I showed you before. So another cool feature of Gmail is the signature lines. So you can set those up in the settings, and then it's neat because you have the ability to format with hyperlinks and images, and you can make sure your signature is above the reply to. There's a button there for that. I'll show you what that looks like. So again, you go to your settings, you go to general, and then you can put in your signature here. You can even put in like a picture, a link, stuff like that. I don't know if you know who Matthew Inman is, the oatmeal, but he has a very funny cartoon where he talks about, you know, how sometimes we see people with these really, really long signature lines right here. So, you know, you may want to carefully craft your signature line so it doesn't take a lot of space, because if people are reading on their phone, you know, if they're looking at your signature, they can't even see your email if you have a really long signature line. And what you want to do is you want to click this here. It says right here, you want to definitely click this. Insert the signature before quoted text and replies, and remove the dash line that precedes it. So you want to do that because the way Gmail is naturally configured is if you reply, and if you don't have this box marked, your signature is actually going to go below. Like if you're responding to someone, it will go below their initial email. So if you have to click this in order to make it be right below your response to their email. So make sure to click this button when you set up your signature line in Gmail. Now, if you want something fancier, there's something called WiseStamp. It's just wisestamp.com, and here it says webapp.wisestamp.com, and it's actually free, or you can pay to have like a more souped up version. But for the free one, you get a bunch of these really cool signature. They've got all these cool signature templates. You can put in your picture. You can put in links to your Facebook, your LinkedIn, your Twitter. They give you the coding that you would need to put in. They explain how to get it into your Gmail for you. And why this is neat, if you want to go this route and want something like this, is that I don't know if you've ever noticed, but sometimes you'll get an email from someone and it'll have 6 attachments. And what are the attachments? It's like their little widgets or their little icons for their Facebook, their LinkedIn, and their Twitter. And so those you're coming in as attachments. Well, you don't want that to happen. So when you have something like this, there's no attachment coming in. It's all pre-configured into the signature line. So if you want to try something, kind of update your signature line, they've got some really neat different choices that are free, or you can go with the paid one as well, which has even more options. But so that's wisestamp.com, and it works with Gmail. It works with most email clients. So if you're not sold on Gmail after this webinar, you can use this with your current email client. And I think this looks really nice. I really like it. And one of the features, which I've never seen in any other email program, let me know definitely if you've seen it in another one in the comment section. But you can actually, did you ever send an email because you were so mad at another agent on the other side or another person, and just after you click send, you go, oh, I shouldn't have sent that? Well, Gmail makes it easy, gives you up to 30 seconds to retract the email after you've pressed send. And so it doesn't get sent to the other side. So you can stop a sent email before it lands in that other account. And that's in the settings section, and you can only do it for up to 30 seconds. And you need to configure how many seconds yourself. And you would click undo at the top. So here's what that looks like. So in your general, so you've got your settings here. And you go to general, and it's right at it says undo send, and you click enable undo send, and then you need to have the send cancellation period, and there's a drop down and it says 10, 20, or 30 seconds. So The only thing you need to know is if you put 30 seconds, what it really does is it delays the sending process for 30 seconds. So if you're on the phone with someone and you're telling them, okay, I'm sending you this right now, come so we can discuss it, know that if you've got undo send configured, they're really not going to get it for like 40 seconds or 30 seconds, whatever you've configured here, plus a few seconds. So I really like that. Sometimes I found that maybe not, I don't regret what I'm sending, but maybe I realize, oh, I forgot to put in the attachment, or I wanted to say something else, or I wanted to add another point. So I can undo the send and then, fix the email. So here's what happens is after you've sent the email and in that limbo period before, when you can pull it back, at the top of your page, it will say your message has been sent, undo, view message. And you click undo to pull that message back. And that's how that works. And people are telling me in the comments, oh, I so need this. Well, we also need this because real estate really can be very emotional. And sometimes we write or think things or realize that we've goofed up on our emails and we need to pull them back. So yeah, this is like an awesome brainchild of Gmail. Okay, so moving on from there, I'm going to talk about Google Labs. What Google Labs is these are things that Gmail is piloting or trying to see if people like them. I wouldn't say they're in beta, but I guess they kind of, because some of them stay in labs a long time, but they're like cool extensions or add-ons for Gmail that you can get in this labs section. So you would go to your settings again, and you click on labs. And some of the cool labs that might help you as a real estate agent are the canned response lab. This is actually one of my favorites. So if you are what I use canned response because I have multiple email signatures, but I have one email account. So I'm a broker, but I also have a personal signature line that has, for my friends, and maybe it has different information in it. And I have another signature line for my transaction coordinating company that provides transaction management services, compliance services to real estate agents. So depending on how I'm responding or who I'm responding to, I want to pick a different signature line. But I'm using one email address, not multiple email addresses. So canned responses allows me to have multiple signatures that I can add. Also, if you're a kind of person, like for example, if you always send the same exact email multiple times a week to multiple people, like if you've got a new email prospect and you send a certain email to them, if you've got a special email when you attach a free CMA, all of these things, if it's one email and you just make minor tweaks to it every time, you need to be using canned response. So you can use it for letter templates, such as weekly client updates, open escrow emails, all of that. So here's what that looks like. So once you install canned response, so basically you click on labs and it will give you a list of all the labs. And all you do is click enable on the one that you want, and then it's installed. And then for canned response, so you've got your email that you send, and then right here, down here next to the trash, you click this, and then you see your canned responses. And you can create a new one, and then you just click on the one you want, and it will insert it right here in your email, whether it's a signature line or an email, like a letter, like a templated letter that you send. If you've saved it in your canned responses, then it's right here and you just select it. And then of course, once it's in place, you can edit it if you need to. So one of the women in my office who does the transaction coordinating, when she opens a new escrow, she wants to send an email to the buyer's agent, the seller's agent, escrow, title, everybody with all of the key dates, when contingencies need to be removed, what the closing date is, et cetera, et cetera. So she's got a canned email, and then she just tweaks it by changing the dates, changing the parties' names, things like that. So saves a lot of time. Okay, so there's other labs that I like, which is like the mark as read button. So if you want to quickly mark something as a read email, you can use that. You can auto advance from email to email. There's a Google Maps preview. There's a preview pane, and there's an unread message icon for showing you how many unread messages you have in your inbox, which can be horrifying. I saw the other day that my son had like 5,000 unread messages. So for me, that would be really horrifying. Now, the other thing that's really, really fun or cool about Gmail is the extensions. And they really can increase your efficiency. So extensions can be found by going into this window right here and just typing Google extensions, and it'll bring you to the extension store, if that's what you want to call it. Although you don't have to pay for these. They're all free. Some of them do have paid add-ons. So one of the ones I love the most is Boomerang. And Boomerang does have a paid feature, but I just use the free one. And what Boomerang does, it's got a number of features. You can delay sending something. You can have something come back to you if there was no response on it. And you can configure the time. So for example, let's say for me, and probably for you, you have like so much stuff on your plate. You have so many things you need to remember in your job, so many things you want to do, and you know that tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. you want to send a follow-up email to maybe a prospective buyer. So, but you know also at 8 a.m. you've got a meeting. So what you can do is you can create the email now, and then in this Boomerang section, you click send later. Once you've installed it, you're going to have this right here that says send later. And you can just configure when you want it to be sent. And then you click send later, and it stays in your outbox, and it goes out at the time that you've configured. And then the other thing is you can check this box here. It says Boomerang this back to me in, and then you can put how many days if no reply. So let's just say that you sent an email to someone asking them to do something, or you needed a response and you were going to give them 24 hours, but maybe you're going to forget because if you're like me, you've got a lot of stuff going on. So I would put is Boomerang this to me in 1 day, meaning if they don't respond, then I'm going to get an email back in my inbox saying, hey, this is boomeranged back to you because they didn't respond. And then that will be my tickler that I need to go back out to them again and say, hey, you didn't respond. What's up? Did you get my email? Things like that. So that's why I really like Boomerang, because I can pre-schedule emails to go out. Sometimes I need to be honest. I'm up at night, real late. I'm working on something, but I really don't want and I want to get it done, but I really don't want the person I'm sending the email to know that I'm up at 11:30 at night working or sending emails. So I will create the email at that time, but I'll send it out at 8 a.m. the next day. So that's like another feature if you want to kind of mask that you're working in the middle of the night, things like that. So it's very cool. Second extension that I like is Streak CRM. It is free up to, I think, 50 or 100 people in your pipeline. So it's a CRM for Gmail. It's not. What it's really, the functionality for real estate professionals more than anything is that it kind of helps you manage your pipeline. Maybe not reminding you to keep in contact with prospects on a calendar, but just seeing like what you've got going on, how many people you have in each category of your pipeline. So it lives in Gmail. So one of my biggest problems with CRMs has always been, and raise your hand for sure if this applies to you, but one of the biggest issues for me is I get a new lead through email, and then if I have to go manually add that person to my CRM, that's an extra step. And it seems like a little step, but when you've got so much going on in the day, you may forget to do it. But the cool thing about Streak is since it's in your email, you don't have to go transfer anything anywhere else. I did a whole video on how to use Streak, an explanation of Streak for real estate professionals. So this is kind of just a little snapshot of it. But if you're interested in seeing more about how to use Streak for real estate, definitely go check out that on melissazavala.com or on my YouTube, in my YouTube account, on my YouTube channel. So what happens is this is actually in Gmail. All right. So you've got your mail here in your inbox. But when you install Streak, and then you go to streak.com or you install it through the extensions, you're going to add, it's going to add this feature right here called pipelines. Now you need to create your own pipelines. They've got some pre-configured real estate ones. So this actually happens to be my, my husband who sells real estate. This is his. And what he's got is he has two separate pipelines. He doesn't want everyone in the same pipeline. So he's got his listing prospects and his buyer prospects separately. So so what happens is if you click here, you've got a box. These are called boxes for each individual. So these are each prospect is a box. And what happens is when you get emails, they go into the box. So if you make a box for Big Bird, and then he is a lead, a listing lead, then what you do is every email that's sent about Big Bird or for Big Bird or related to Big Bird's property is going to be, when you click on this box, it's going to have all of the emails, all of the attachments, everything related to Big Bird in there for easy, and you can see it. And then you can also install the Streak app on your phone, so you would have access to all that information on your phone. And it's really neat because once you open a box, I wonder if I took a picture of a box. I didn't, sorry. Once you open a box, you can just use a drop down. So once, let's just say I'm working on the Big Bird listing and then I put on the MLS, all I need to do is open this and just change it to active on the drop down menu, and all of a sudden this would be a 13 and this would be an 8, so people can move through the sales pipeline in that way. So it's kind of, it's free, it's neat because it lives in Gmail, and what I like about that is that I don't have to transfer things from one from one place to another. So it increases my, automates my activities, it increases my efficiency by not having that extra step involved. Another really cool feature is full contact. Full contact for Gmail, you can install that as an extension. And what's neat about that is it's going to give you all of this extra information about the person that sent you an email. So if you have a prospect that sent you an email or a referral and someone reaches out to you, hey, I got your name from so-and-so, will you help me buy or sell my house? Look at this, you're going to get all their social media stuff here, and you can click and connect with them on all of those social media sites, click, 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 so you don't have to go out into the world and figure out where they are. It also may even show you what their job is, what their Twitter bio is. It may even find their phone number and a lot of information about them for you. So that's full contact. So it's a way, and it appears on the right side of your inbox. So what would happen is your inbox is here, and over here on the right, when you have one message highlighted, you would see all of this information. So that's free, and then there's an upgraded version as well. So if you're falling in love with it, you're really using it to connect socially with prospects and other individuals, then you may want to consider the paid version, but I think you should check it out because it really does help you kind of do a little more recon work on your clients or prospective clients. Another one that I like, and this is just for people that like to trick out or pimp their email inbox, is Gemelius. And so what you can schedule emails with that, like you can with Boomerang. Then you can do email reminders. They've got some email templates, to-do lists. There's a lot of other features that increase the functionality of your inbox. So if you're into crafting your inbox and making it aesthetically pleasing and all of the, you might want to check out Gemelius. You can again do that through the extensions or go to gemelius.com. And by the way, if you're not sold on Chrome, then you can install Gemelius on Firefox as well. So Gmail really helps you put a lot of systems on autopilot. It's got so many different functions. I know that it doesn't have the aesthetic of a lot of other email programs, but as you can see from the 10 or 12 things we've gone over, it does provide, there are a lot of cool features of it that if you put them into place can increase your functionality. So what daily activities can you put on autopilot? So for me, I've got the filters, I've got the labels, I've got the boxing and Streak, I'm boomeranging things, I've got my unreads at the top, and all of those things really increase my productivity. They make me more efficient, so I can manage more tasks at one time. So the ones that require minimal human intervention, if you can have the computer do those for you, you're even saving more time. So some simple tips to remember as we wrap up today is you can set up your signature in Gmail or in canned responses. You can create preset filters and labels. You can do them by the client name or by the address or whatever else. But you need to definitely create a system where if something comes in, you need to triage it. If it's not labeled, you need to label it as you go so that it doesn't become overwhelming down the road. So you've got to set some good habits for email inbox triage. So for filters and labels, as I mentioned, for your clients and for your properties, you can set them up at the beginning of each new transaction, and then you need to stick to your process for easy archiving later. And then, of course, if you want to, some of my favorite extensions that I've already mentioned are Boomerang, Streak, and Full Contact. And right before this webinar, I was on my Facebook feed, and I saw there's a new Chrome extension called Honey, Honey, which if you install it, and this is for Chrome, this is not necessarily for Gmail, what it will do is it will apply the best coupon code from the internet to any internet purchase that you're making. So you know how sometimes you go into the internet because you're looking for a 25% off coupon because you're about to buy something on such and such website? Well, I guess Honey goes out into the internet and pulls that for you. So as soon as I get off this call, one of the things I'm going to do is I'm going to be installing that Honey extension so I can save a few bucks, I guess, because it'll bring those best coupons automatically to me instead of me having to go out and look for them. So as we wrap up, you've got to have really good daily processes because they lead to increased sales outcomes. For those of you on the call that are in the Pipeline Planner launch team, I'm putting together a new real estate agent planner. I do have one on the Amazon called the Essential Daily Planner for Real Estate, but coming out very soon, we're going to be relaunching a leather-bound version of the planner, which brings together, even though we've got all these great apps and great things online, we're always in the car, we're always on the phone, we always need to jot something down somewhere. So this planner helps you build your sales pipeline, but also gives you a place to house all of the things you need. So, we're not scrambling for paper, looking for data, that we're all keeping our business together so that we can reach our goals for 2016 and beyond. So it's really all about having good systems, and don't stop running the race. You've got to keep on, programming stuff, keep on, putting on those labels, doing those filters, because that's really going to be what saves you time down the road. Or if you're going to be adding an assistant in or somebody else, if you have those good practices in place, it's easy for someone else to take over for you. So, and of course, that will lead to more success in your business. If you have any questions, I'm going to hang out, but that's pretty much, those are the hacks that I wanted to go over today, the tools and tips. They're all, very easy to implement, but I went over them very quickly. There is, you can download the slides from slideshare.net/Melissa Zavala, and you will get the replay in your email inbox in just a few hours if you wanted to watch any piece of this again and get some more information. But I will hang out for a second and answer these questions that are on there for anyone that is interested. For those of you that are checking out now, thanks again for joining me. And if you want to reach out to me in the future, please feel free to do so at info@melissazavala.com. So I'm going to go to the questions now. I'm getting a lot of positive feedback, and there are a lot of questions here. So, okay. All right. So with regard to canned responses, the first question is about canned responses, and can I go over that again? So canned responses, again, is a lab. So you would go to settings and then to the lab, and you would click enable next to the lab that says canned responses. If you're having trouble configuring it or figuring out how it works, since I don't want to do like a whole, I'd have to go into cyberspace to do a whole email demo of that. What I recommend is that you go on YouTube and just type in how to use canned response and watch like a 2-minute video of someone doing their first canned response. But essentially, remember, if you've got a letter template, if you've got a signature line, whatever you've got, just you create it, you save it as a canned response, and then you just use that corner triangle to insert it into any email that you want. So I hope that helps. Okay, let me see what else we've got here. Okay, more about, okay, Gemelius, you weren't clear on that. So Gemelius, again, it's kind of, you can change the color of your screen, you can change the way things are aligned, you can have attachments on the right instead of the left. It does have also some of the features of Boomerang. And so it's kind of neat if you want to, as you know, if you're into kind of changing the look of your Gmail, and also adding some of the functionality. And as I mentioned, it's available in Firefox. And let me see what else we have. Okay, I don't really know with regard to full contact what the difference is between the free and the paid version. I do believe you get a little more information through the paid version, but I would recommend you start with the free one and see if you can, make some meaningful connections, and if it's worth going forward to pay for it. And then how much is Streak? That's another question here. So Streak is free, as I mentioned, up to, I believe, 50 or 100 people in your pipeline. And then I think there's like a $19 a month version or a $39 a month version, and you can pick which one you want to upgrade to. So that's at streak.com. And can I briefly go over Streak? So what Streak is it's a CRM, a customer relationship manager, but it is a little bit different from Top Producer or Contactually or Wise Agent or one of those real estate ones. What this focus is really on is pipeline management. So, and since it is housed in Gmail, in your Gmail, it becomes something on the left-hand side next to your labels. What happens is any of your Gmails are automatically attached to the box you create. So if I create a box for every client that I have, then the emails from that client would be assigned to that box, so that and any attachment in those emails would automatically be in that box. Any communication with other parties related to that transaction would be in that box. So for me, there were two hurdles that Streak accomplished. One is the problem of me forgetting to add people to my CRM, because it was a two-step process. I would get them an email and then I'd have to go and manually add them to Top Producer or something else. So I got rid of that since it's in Gmail. And then the second hurdle that I accomplished really through that is I could really see my numbers, because if I have something as a lead and then I move them to an in-process listing, then an active listing, and then I move them to pending and close, I can see how many people did I close in 2015, 2016. I mean, you got your numbers right in front of you every day of the week, so you know where you are compared to previous years, things like that. So that pretty rainbow that I showed on the screen, that was the stages of the pipeline, and you can customize your own, or they give you a standard real estate one to start with if you're a little bit confused about what you should do there. So that's streak.com, or you can grab it from the extension section and give it a try before you invest any money. And I think everything I went over is free or free to start, except for Google for Work. There is a cost associated with that, and I think it's $5 per email address that you have in your domain. And I will just stick around for a second more, but I think I've answered everybody's questions. And thank you again for joining me today while I talk about I don't work for Google, I don't work for Gmail, but I have found that it's very, very functional for real estate agents when you use it. And of course, you can install that Gmail app on your phone. You don't have to use your regular mail thing on your phone. You can install Gmail, you can install Streak on your phone, things like that. Well, thank you very much, everyone. I'll pause for a couple seconds longer if I don't hear any more questions. Have a great day, and you should be getting a replay of this shortly. Have a good afternoon, and best wishes to you for an awesome and successful summer.